Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts About the 40K Universe. I am your host, Gershwin, and you are watching One Mind Syndicate. Today we continue talking about the Imperium as we get into the cold trade. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We post Warhammer 40K content every single day, and if you have any suggestions, please comment down below. Now with that said, let's get into 40 facts on Imperial trade. The so-called cold trade, as it is known in the Calyx sector, is the illegal trade of Xenos commodities by individuals who deal with the aliens either for profit or for survival's sake. Though highly frowned upon by the Inquisition, Ordo Xenos, many of these items are not considered outright illegal due to the impossibility of categorizing and banning every item, device, or object that may or may not have been made by non-human hands. The legality of such items are further muddied by the fact that certain individuals and agencies have had their right to exploit Xenos races, conduct commerce outside Imperial space, or profit from alien plunder enshrined in law since the Imperium's founding. Foremost amongst these are those individuals or dynasties who hold a warrant of trade, known as a rogue trader. To learn more about rogue traders, please check out our 40 facts on rogue traders. The worthies in Port Wander are fond of saying that when men first encountered the alien, their first reaction was to kill it. The next was to see what profit might be made from their remains. The worthies in Port Wander are fond of saying that when men first encountered the alien, their first reaction was to kill it. The next was to see what profit might be made from their remains. This defines many of the transactions in the Corynus Expanse. Rogue traders are amongst the few authorized by the Imperium to have any dealings with the Xenos other than through the barrel of a bolt gun. And these dealings, whether from trade or clandestine archaeological digs, are the source of much profit and power. The essential part of gathering said profit and power requires dealing with sources and agencies in the Calyx sector, where possession of most if not all Xenos goods is heretical and illegal. There is money to be made though, and enough buyers in the sector desire of these artifacts and dabble for amusement or hidden needs they dare not reveal. These goods can range from anything from weapons and vehicles to simple textiles and food, from dangerous fuels and energy supply to common building material. If something is of alien origin, there is likely a market for it amongst the jaded or degenerate wealthy of the Calyx sector. Exotic drugs and arcane technology often fetches the highest price, though connoisseurs of alien art and music are always ready to bid high. Radical inquisitors, or heretics, are also steady customers, ready to study and utilize the devices of mankind's enemies against them, while the fighting arenas and death pits demand continual stock of fresh beasts. Explorers who can fulfill these desires become part of the cold trade, the secretive exchange of alien wares for Imperial gelt that goes on between Calyx and Corynus. This is an underground economy full of money, and a source of riches in both regions, but also a source of untold mysteries and threats to the very existence of mankind. Some rogue traders may be fully charted to conduct dealings with any Xenos they choose. Others may only contact them, but not engage in trade. Others still have no warrant whatsoever for any involvement at all. But where there is money to be made, there are ways to get around anything. The cold trade has existed in the Calyx sector in some form or another long before the sector's official beginning, for there have always been humans who are curious of alien materials. With the coming of the Inquisition came the laws against dealing with Xenos and their wares, lest the human soul be contaminated by such unholy devices. As the rule of law became more and more firm across the sector, the trade shrank, with only the most common and unassuming alien items still to be found. It was the opening of the Maw that brought new life to the cold trade, with a dazzling number of fresh opportunities with each system discovered. It seemed each day new artifacts were uncovered and new weapons unleashed to fuel the greediness of the Calaxian merchants. Dead worlds divulged their secrets to skillful excavators, and new worlds were willing or made willing to offer their goods for the enrichment of rogue traders. These were the open years, when Port Wander's authority was only a step above lawless football. Anything could be trafficked, with little care as to who might be watching, with the Inquisition and the planetary enforcers overwhelmed by the flood of desire. Endless tones of truly foreign goods moved openly through the mall and into the Calyx sector, with little care for any danger they might present. Iridescent weaves of soul-rending colors, primordial artifacts of untapped power, flowers with exquisite and poisonous scents, all these and more made their way into the parlors of many noble houses. Port Wander was a massive void station on the uttermost edge of the Drusa Marshes subsector of the Calyx sector, rightly regarded as the last bastion of the rule of the Emperor of mankind, this side of the Coronus Expanse, and the last stop before entering that untamed region of Halo stars. Standing sentry at the gates of the mall, Port Wander is the last outpost of Imperial law and order on the far rimward side of the Calyx sector. At this location, and at this time, was also the years of open warfare between many of the larger trading fleets, as they fought over trading establishments, warp routes, system access, and other foundations of their prosperous livelihood. Such conflicts ranged from the subtle assassination to planetary bombardments. While vast fortunes were still being made, the violence and unpredictability were impacting more and more upon profits. During the worst of the violence, Port Wander became barely more than a platform of a series of deck battles and devious betrayals. Sources were drying up, fearing retribution from rival traders. Novice without proper warrant or sufficient skills attempted to enter the trade and found armed resistance, or worse, fell to Xenos fleets, for which they were wholly unprepared. Such a state of affairs could not continue if reliable profits were to be had. Just as the situation became unbearable, Wa Golgrog's massive freebooter fleet surrounded the besieged Port Wander in the 422nd year of the 41st millennium. Rogue traders, including many in the cold trade, abandoned the port in droves, and it was left up to the Adeptus Mechanicus and the Imperial Navy to lift the siege. In the wake of Port Wander's near fall, the sector governor gave in to the petitions from the Imperial Adepts and certain noble houses, returning the station to the control of the Imperial Navy. Within several decades, the Navy restored order with an iron authority. Interestingly, this actually had a stabilizing effect on the cold trade. Some of the most dangerous players in the trade were caught and executed, and the remainder found that they had to take their conflicts underground to avoid attention. As a result of Port Wander's stability, the second major event in the cold trade's history followed. 5 of the most powerful remaining families and criminal organizations in the cold trade gradually came to an agreement. They began to work together, driving out the irritants of lesser traders and carving up the lucrative business of Xenos artifacts and goods. In time, they could only be known as the Quintet. For many centuries, this system had maintained Xenos trading to the betterment of all, but of later, there are cracks in the cartel alliance. Forgotten rivals are gaining power, finding new sources of alien goods and new warp routes. Calyxian buyers are attempting to pierce their near monopoly and deal directly with welcoming Xenos merchants. Increasing inquisitorial attention has crushed long-standing trade agreements and killed others as they were coming to fruition. Quintet themselves have begun small raids on each other, testing for weakness. In such a time, new rogue traders looking to enter the cold trade can certainly smell new opportunity. Before we move away from the history of the cold trade, I'm going to leave you with one of the most popular trading items within the cold trade. It's called the Diluvian Tincture. It's a drug. One of a number of supposedly alien elixirs promising everything from practical immortality to superhuman virility, and sold by traders and heretics. The so-called Diluvian Tincture is more dangerous than most. It contains prescribed ingredients including Xenos retroviral suspensions believed by the Magos biologists to be distilled from Eldar blood. The source of the drug is thought to lie somewhere in the Hazaroth Abyss, and it is rapidly gaining ground amongst those that can afford its dubious benefits. To be part of the cold trade is to deal with some of the most powerful groups in the Expanse, not the heated powers of raw military might, but more subtle powers generated by enormous wealth and networks of agents. There are organizations that traffic with the aliens on regular basis, utilizing mysterious means and devices still hidden from the Imperium that perhaps even act on behalf of mankind's enemies. All are veiled in the motion and methods, and even most detailed Ordo Xenos reports on these organizations often contain only aliases and false information. However, although they are veiled in secrecy, these organizations are well aware of the players in the cold trade and events that may affect it. For the explorer looking to make their names and fortune in the cold trade, the question is perhaps not how to operate without their notice, but instead how to profit without their assistance. The Quintet contains some of the most powerful groups in the cold trade. They work jointly to ensure the smooth transaction of illicit Xenos goods for the profit of all, or at least themselves. First amongst the five is the Casabella Commission, with their well-known mission on footfall. This crime syndicate has tendrils across the Calyx and deep into the Expanse. Though there are often internal conflicts between the primary Casabella operations in the Druscan Marshes and the Casabella Commissions on footfall, over spheres of influence and profit tithes, both sides realize that these can only benefit their enemies and seek to keep their disputes minimized or hidden from spying eyes. The mission, often represented by Vladium Tokara, one of its senior negotiators, stands ready to greet rogue traders new to the Expanse, and actively seeks exclusive Xeno artifact contracts, with Igarian crystalline relics, a particular specialty of theirs. Where negotiations fail, the mission is also ready with blackmail, threats, and worse, to aid negotiations. The self-styled Baron, Armun Devoras, leads the Casabella interest in the Quintet. He disguises a shrewd and calculating mind with bluster and boast. His goal is to ensure potential new challenges are cut out of lucrative opportunities before they become a threat to the Casabella and its profits. The Hexton Cartel is also part of the Quintet, and as the name suggests, operates mostly to the extreme rimward of the Expanse. Led by Barterman, Primus, Golton, Farnham, the cartel members trade on their name to suggest their association with this most deadly and mysterious area of Coronus. Though more localized than many of the other trading groups, they are growing in power and strength through the audacity of their deals. The traders who operate under their sigil are renowned for their extreme daring and quality of their extraordinary artifacts they recover. Little is spoken, though, of those who never return from the rifts, although the remaining captains raise a toast and flanks in their name each year. While they do not have a fixed base in the Expanse, the Serrated Query are widely respected for the breadth of their activities and operations, as well as the extensive network of spies feeding information to their controlling cells. If there are illegal thrones to be made, the Query are probably already aware of it and demanding their slice of the action. They are also known for the extreme loyalty and ruthlessness of their agents, with their organizations acting more like religious cults at times. There is quite talk that this Quintet member might be more than they seem, but so far, these are only the casual suspicions of a sort of anyone in the Expanse might have. The Archo-Exterminators of the Hive Celibus have forced a place for themselves in the Quintet, due to the power of their backers and the nobility of the Sibylus and other influential hive worlds. Well-educated, well-funded, and well-supplied with both manpower and weaponry, they range over both the Calyx sector and the Coronus Expanse to uncover new treasures for their collector masters. While others may search for decades for lost civilizations, the Archo-Exterminators draw on vast data pools and voyage logbooks to make needle-like raids, often reclaiming artifacts before others are aware they have even found anything. They each jealously guard their personal contacts and rarely act in concert, the main reason they have not totally dominated the trade. The last current members of the Quintet is the most overlooked one. The Mist Fleets are known for their skilled negotiators, and became a part of the Five due to their valuable service in that regard. Their flotilla operates secretly, with highly encrypted astropathic announcements of their next location sent to their clientele. It is an open secret that they have hundreds more vessels roaming the expanse and pushing beyond its nebulous boundaries for the new acquisitions. Once found, the large ships break from the fleet to oversee evacuations and protection, then return to arrange transfer to buyers. Captain Marcel Cantoli of the Minder is one of the more well-known trader captains and is frequently seen at footfall to represent the Mist Fleet. There are other organizations involved with the cold trade that are not part of the Quintet. Some of these organizations operate more as buyers than sellers. The Ordinati Xenologist is a rogue cult of the Adeptus Mechanicus, which has an overwhelming commitment to the study of Xenos artifacts. Magos Nari Kimura has sequestered herself and her courtiers in a secretive station far in the clouds of Port Wander, where she deals with rogue traders on specific missions into the expanse on the Ornati's behalf, often with their agents sent to accompany them in their task. The Adeptus Mechanicus' presence within the Calyx sector typically ignores this group, but remains ready to act if their research or conclusions become too heretical. Another prominent organization is the Amaranthian Syndicate. Though mostly known for routine smuggling amidst their normal mercantile operations, it is gathering more and more inquisitorial attention due to the number of Xenos items found among seized contraband goods. That some of these artifacts defy identification is becoming very worrisome to the Ordo Xenos, and those who have dealt with the Syndicate are coming under increasing scrutiny. Though they have informally petitioned for association with the Quintet, the other members remain uneasy. These are dark tales and are only told when confidence is absolute, for those who speak too freely are usually never heard from again. These tell of horrific alien guises, massive biological contracts, and insidious agendas far beyond mere profit. Needless to say, the Quintet is not eager to allow them to join. In the middle of these groups is the most improbable of powers. She is the Lady Belafonte, Marquessate of the Albi Navis, and the invisible Veritas of Port Wander, the widow of rogue trader Ricard Pomfroy. She is extraordinarily wealthy. Her lavish asteroid estate near the port has huge galas for those of proper breeding or sufficient affluence. Here she sits like a spider in the center of the vast web of cold trade dealings, stretching across the Calyx as well as through the Maw and deep into the expanse, gathering information from lowly dregs as well as highborn nobility of Xenos findings, artifact desires, double crosses, and dealings. This information is bartered to the Quintet amongst other groups, with some special data put aside for blackmail and extortion where necessary. What starts as a stimulating game to ease the boredom of her mourning period has become her passion, and she controls a vast trove of Xenos knowledge and confidential information, and most find her too useful to consider eliminating her. As the Expanse is not under the direct dominion of the Master of Mankind, the alien is allowed to roam without rightful challenge. Xenos fleets move through the Coronus Expanse, such as a massive Kroot warp sphere, or barbered Eldar Corsair raiders. Orc vessels leaving behind destroyed planets and drifting bloodstains in their wake as they travel from war to war. Strixus traders establish dealings across the Expanse, ready to deal with any who dare. All these and more act as sources of Xenos goods for the explorers canny or brave enough to deal with them. Such direct contact can lead to superlative deals. Much can also lead to deadly battles should negotiations falter. Surrounding and watching these are the agents of the Inquisition, Adeptus Mechanicus, and other Imperial agencies, duty-bound to protect mankind from the heresies of Xenos and others that they might seek to suppress or destroy. They do not seek cooperations with the aliens, for their time in the Xenos hybrids has revealed to them the true nature of their foe. But they also know that only selective actions will use their limited resources most efficiently. There will always be a cold trade in their eyes. The best any intelligent servant of the Emperor can do is work to limit it, and ensure it does not lead to catastrophic disaster for mankind. And those were 40 facts on the cold trade, or the black market of the Imperium. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to thank our patrons on Patreon. It's because of them that we can do this. Link in the description if you guys want to support us. But with that said, I'll talk to you tomorrow. This was Gersh1 with One Mind Syndicate signing out.
Always used to put my freedom first.